So you just got Ableton and you're trying to figure out how to work it and you want to make some music. I'm going to show you how to do it in this video. What is up, y'all? My name is Kirk, aka Vandal, and I produce music that's been supported by Skrillex, Jack U, Party Favor, Adventure Club, a whole bunch more. I've done stuff for HP, I've done stuff for labels like BMG. I've also written a movie and walked on a red carpet and all of this stuff. So I've done music for a whole movie. And I've also got about 20 years of music production experience to help you learn how to do music production. It doesn't have to be complicated. And in this video, we're gonna talk about Ableton basics, just getting things set up, and the things that you just need to start making music. All right, so let's get into it. If we take a look at the screen right here, you got Ableton Live, and this is what it opens up as. All right, so it usually opens up as this view right here. You're probably like, Kirk, what is this? What am I looking at? I don't know what I'm looking at. Actually, what we're looking at here is the session view. There's two views in Ableton. There's session, and if you hit the tab key, you can go to the arrangement view. So this is what it opens up as. And you can see similar information in both, it's just different ways of writing. A lot of the times people who like live looping and that kind of thing, and if that's what you're into, you'll love this view because you'll be able to live loop and record layers on top of layers. That's what all these sections are over here. You have MIDI tracks, which are basically like software instrument tracks. You have audio tracks where you can like plug in an interface or some sort of like microphone and you can record. So the arrangement view here is like where, like, if you're producing a track and you're recording someone, you're probably mostly gonna be in this view if you're gonna be writing a lot of music, especially electronic music, hip hop, anything that you're really just kind of like taking audio clips or putting MIDI clips in there and drawing things in and cutting things up and moving them around. This is where you'll do a lot of like audio editing and that kind of thing. So this is the arrangement view. And as you can see, we have the same tracks here. A little bit different information that is shown. It's basically the same stuff, but the only difference that we have is we have like automation lanes that you can show here, but we won't talk about that in this video. And you have like a whole bunch of other things that you can do. But you can also see that it's just like a linear view. So you can see like from bar 1 all the way to bar, like however many you want to do, however long your song is. So, and you also have things like this loop, these loop brackets right here that you can use, and you can turn them on and off in the transport control, like up here. You also can do musical typing. So musical typing meaning like you could turn your computer keyboard into a keyboard to play instruments. So if you press that button right there, you could do that as well, which is kind of cool. And then you have, obviously, to play, you hit spacebar. And then to stop, you hit spacebar again. And then you also have the record button up here. So whatever tracks have this little red record button on, when you hit the record button here, it'll record on that track. Now you can select multiple tracks by holding Command and hitting the record button on there. And you could do that with MIDI tracks, you could do that with whatever. So if you just have record armor on everything, you'll also see that the record is over here as well. And the cool thing is on the session view, you can actually see the levels here in a different way, but over here you could see them kind of small over here. You can adjust that, you can adjust the way your tracks look as well, but for now this is kind of what it opens up as. On the top left we have the tempo, which is what the speed of your track is. So you can, like, for most house music it's like 128, for like hip hop you'll be like 175, or double time that 150, you know, and you can just click that and then type it in, or you can click and drag it. And then over here you see this right here, this little button. Whenever we played, you saw it moving. That's the metronome. You always want to play to a metronome. And actually, as a music producer, it's always good to learn how to play to a metronome, because then if you wanted to play in a band, you'd know how to do it. You'd be able to stay on time with the band and all of that stuff. So the metronome is there. It's really good for you to hear. You can choose different sounds. You can choose different like subdivisions. So if I wanted to do eighth note, I can do which is wild. I don't know anybody else that would do that, but usually 1/4 is like how people do it. And over here you'll see this 4. It looks like a fraction. It's actually the time signature that you're in. Most songs are going to be in 4/4. We won't talk about it in this video because it's too complicated and too much to talk in, but we will talk about it in another video, probably in my course as well. So then that's all you really got to know. Those are the places to know. Now, you're probably like, Kirk, where do I find sounds? There's two places that I'm going to suggest to you. One place is free, the other place you have to pay money for it. But the free place is Ableton actually comes with sounds. So you have like these pianos here, like let's go to piano keys, let's bring in this whirly. And well, I'm just gonna click and drag it onto a MIDI track like that. And then since I have musical typing on over here, I can actually play that. And then the Z key and the X key jump octaves, so it makes it higher or lower. So let's go higher. Now, if I wanted to record that, I could totally just do this. I'm gonna change this to 125. Maybe we'll make a house track. So let's go ahead and just really quickly record this. And then, you know, that sounds okay, but we played the wrong thing. So I'm just gonna double click into that. And now you can notice that there's these like little bars. They're called MIDI notes and MIDI clips. And these are basically just triggers for the sound. So I'm just gonna put them on the beat a bit here. And then actually, I think I could just hit Q. So I'm just gonna put them on the beat here. It's okay if they're a little bit off because that's human, but I'm actually just gonna select them and kind of move them over a little bit. Like that, boom, I like that. All right, that's good. And then now I can click and drag this whole thing over and then make sure it lines up with the bar there. So now if I go ahead and select all of these notes, I can move them up or down. Let's actually take this one. And actually let's go like this. Yeah, and then we'll just loop that. There's a couple of things you could do. You could just hit Command D to duplicate that across. Cool, so I have this little keyboard thing that sounds kind of cool. Now I want to add some drums or something, and let's go over here to drums, and we could do the same thing. These are the sounds that you have. You could drag that into another MIDI clip, and then you can see that the drums are here. If we play them. So I can just right click, I can select this by clicking and dragging, and then I can right click in here, insert a MIDI clip, and then you'll see that everything is laid out over here. So if I want to just do just the bass drum, I'll double click over here and there's a bass drum. So house music is usually 4 on the floor, which means there's a kick drum on every beat. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'm just going to duplicate that, Command D. So usually what I would do is actually then duplicate the track, Command D, and usually Ableton will like copy over the MIDI notes if there's any on there. And I'll actually make a pattern here. And then let's go ahead and do this. We'll do it really quick because I don't wanna mess this up. So let's just do that, blah, blah, blah. Most house music is gonna have the drums on the 2 and the 4 of everything. So I'm gonna do that here. So let's go ahead and just put that clap on the 2 and the 4. And actually what we can do is just like duplicate it like this. And you don't have to make your MIDI regions this, you don't have to do it this way. You can totally do it like in here. So you can select all that and hit Command J, and now that's one MIDI region. I can select all of this and hit Command J. Now it's all one MIDI thing. And now we have a kick here. And we could do Command R to rename it kick. And then we could do Command R to rename this snare. And then also we could just Command R keys, right? Okay, now this doesn't sound incredible, but like, you could do a lot of work to these sounds and you can make them sound pretty good. Or the next thing that you can do is actually go to Splice, and you can go here and there's like millions upon millions of sounds. You can do a 14-day trial, try it for free. I'm gonna go ahead and sign in. And then I'm just gonna show you some sounds that you can grab. If you want really high quality sounds, go to Splice. You can also get plugins, a whole bunch of things. Like we could just go right into here to this moment sample pack, and we could just listen to sounds. All right, for example, if we wanted to make a house track, let's go house. We'll just type in house over there and see what comes up. We have kick. We have loops. All right, cool. So that kind of stuff, like we just download that. So we also have the desktop app, which can show up right here. And we also have all of this stuff, the same exact stuff. So the sound that we just downloaded is here at the top of our sound. So this is the one we just downloaded. We added to our library. So let's go ahead and sync it locally. And then let's just drag and drop it right in. And now this is 124, and one thing that Ableton does really cool is if you double click this, it's gonna be warped to the BPM, meaning it's gonna time stretch it and like sync it up with your project. So this sample is 124 and it's gonna warp it. So actually let's go ahead and keep it to beats. Beats is fine because it's beats. But now let's make this sound like, say we want to add like effects to our track or something like that, right? That sounds cool and all, but it's not like super great, right? This sounds a little bit boring. So let's go to audio effects. Let's go to delays, and we'll look for ambient spaces, and we'll just add that to this one right here. Cool. That sounds pretty cool. Let's actually look for another one. There's this thing called a grain delay that's kind of cool. So let's just add a grain delay on. Delayed it a whole bunch. Let's actually bring the dry wet and down. Say we don't like all the high frequencies that are in there. We can go here to EQs and we can put EQ 8 on here. Click and drag it. All of the software plugins that you put on here will show up on the bottom. So every track, see how this one doesn't have anything on it, this one doesn't have anything, this one has a lot of things on it. We can do all this. Now all of these pieces of software, these plugins is what they're called, come with Ableton Live, minus the sample that I showed you from Splice. Splice. Cool, that sounds kind of cool, right? We could turn off this. Cool, and then mess around with that and say we want it to pump, right? So if we're gonna want it to pump, then we gotta throw a compressor on here. So we'll throw a compressor at the end, right here. We just put it on that, just like that. And then you could click this little arrow, turn on sidechain, and we'll select the kick drum. So now, whenever the kick drum comes in, notice how that sounds like it's pumping? So that's really cool, right? So you can do a whole bunch of things in here with Ableton. You can make all kinds of music, any type of beat. I just made something very quickly, a little loop. Now let me talk about the settings that you're gonna wanna have. So if we go to the live menu, you hit preferences, and what you want to do is make sure you select your input and output. So if you have like an audio interface, this is where you're going to plug it in and you're going to select that audio interface. I own an Apollo Twin and an Apollo X8, so my interface will be that Apollo X8 or whatever it is. But for now, I'm just using the software stuff. You can just use headphones and leave it like to set the basic settings. You don't need to have like an interface. But if you want to record high quality audio, you might want to look into getting something. So this is how I leave it set up, 44.1, 256 on the latency. Not a huge deal. The higher this is, the more latency you'll have. The lower it is, the less latency, but also choppiness could happen. And then you have a different like sample rates you can choose. These are the two that are the most common, 48 and 44.1. That's all you have to know for that right now. And then you also have your plugins. You can like scan all your plugins here. There is a thing that I want you to turn off. So when you open up Ableton for the first time ever, this will be turned on. But turn that off because it creates too many crazy things. So that's all you really have to worry about. You should be able to plug in headphones and hear your headphones and all of that stuff. You have all of these that you can listen to, whatever is on your computer, and you will be able to create music. So you see how quickly we were able to just jump in and just start dragging things in and playing around with stuff. It's just about knowing where all the stuff is at. So you have like instruments here. So we wanted to like bring in like cool instruments, and Ableton comes with a whole bunch of instruments you can mess around with, drum synth, all of this stuff. I'm not gonna go too deep into those. It also comes comes with audio effects, which you saw us use with some of the sounds. It comes with other instruments, sounds you can use as well, software instruments and all of that. And also, if you have any third-party plugins, you can use them here too. And if you have any samples that you have in your in a library, you can use that as well. And you also have like a user library here. So if you're trying to figure out how to make music, like, it's not hard. It's just knowing where everything is at. And I just showed you where all of the important stuff is at in a really short amount of time. If you like this content and you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this.